an opportunity for us to be here once again. I feel like it's been a while we had our session, and this is to the continuity of the last series we had. And of course, in here in this particular group, we talk about recent and will I say a bit little advanced in some interesting DevOps topics. We will also proceed with that today. But before I proceed, I think it would be nice to do some introduction. My name is none other than Promise Uche Onwachku, your favorite Azure MVP, right? And with me here, I have some interesting, wonderful speakers for this session today. Okay, I will just do a quick intro. So, with me on this particular session is also I would call him a senior DevOps engineer, a senior consultant, a friend, and someone who I have been working with for a while now. I would say maybe 5 to 6 years now. And trust me, he knows his stuff. He knows what he does, right? I will call him none other than Chidebere Ugu. Chidebere Ugu, do you have one or two things to say? Yeah, good,
Okay.
good.
Thank you, Promise, for the awesome introduction. So my name is Chidebere Ugu, a senior DevOps and Azure infrastructure engineer. So today we'll be having a session on onboarding Azure DevOps to Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Please stay tuned and thank you once again for joining us.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Also, in this particular session, I have none other than an amazing friend, a senior colleague as well, and a senior DevOps engineer. I think I've known him back in the days when we were working in Microsoft. He's been an awesome, awesome teacher and a tech-driven individual as well. I'm speaking of none other than Iheana Chochukwu. Iheana Chochukwu, do you want to say one or two things before we kick off?
Yeah, thank you very much, Promise, for that introduction. Yes, I'm a cloud engineer. I'm a lover of having a secured application delivery, especially with using Azure DevOps. Is a topic I so much have interest with, and I wish to, encourage us and also share ideas along the line. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, Iheana Chochukwu. And of course, we have good news. We have good news, but of course, we'll post that later in the day. But let's kick off the session for today, right? So for today, we are looking at onboarding Azure DevOps to Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And I'm sure a lot of you will be wondering, Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Are we talking about what's that cartoon again? I know there's one cartoon, Defender of the Universe, right? But no, this is not Defender of the Universe, but this is Defender for Cloud, the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Today we want to explain to you what really is Microsoft Defender and how then do you onboard your Azure DevOps to Microsoft Defender. All right. I would speak shortly on this, and then I would invite my colleagues Chidebere Ugu and Ihia Nacho to proceed. Of course, we are going to have some practical session where we are going to be showing you actually the live demonstration on how you can onboard your Microsoft Azure DevOps environment into the Defender for Cloud. All right. Let me proceed to my next slide. So we are looking at how do you onboard your Microsoft DevOps environment into Defender for Cloud, your Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and I think you can't really speak much into that topic if you don't really have an understanding where what the Microsoft Defender for Cloud is all about. And one thing you have to take into perspective is this: it's a Microsoft product, yes, but what exactly does it do? Why is it called the defender for cloud, right? Because from the name itself, you can have an idea what it actually does, but maybe you may be wondering exactly for some specifications, right? And that's the what I'm here to do today. So one is that it's a cloud native application protection platform. Yes, it's cloud native, right? Because one of the things it does is, security. It helps to protect your applications or whatever you're deploying in your environment. And then the other one is this: it merges, you can see here, combines capabilities, both DevSecOps, CSPM, CWPP features, all of these features all in one, right? So that is one very interesting thing about the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And then you'll be wondering, okay, is it just only Azure you can make use of it on? You see, it's not just Azure, because it protects multi-cloud and hybrid environment. Meaning, if you're running your services on-prem, you're running it in the cloud, you're also making use of other cloud products, you can make use of this particular service. And then lastly, it talks about what security improvement, meaning that, I mean, if you look at how you want to enhance your security posture and you reduce threats, this is one tool you have to use. Because if you look at it from the core of how the application behaves, right, in actually the Azure DevOps environment, or in the Azure portal, you will see that it not only scans your application, but then it also provides you with options on how to resolve those issues. That is one beautiful thing about this particular product. All right, what are some of the benefits why you should integrate your Azure DevOps platform into Microsoft Defender for Cloud? And one thing here it says is what: unified visibility, gain a single view of your DevOps security posture. So, of course, you can have a dashboard where you can, put in all of your environment, right? You can have that dashboard where you can configure it, and then you slot in all of your environment, and then you can see how it is scanning all of the environment, right? And another thing you can see, one of the second benefit is what it strengthens your configuration. So you're wondering, how does it strengthen your configuration? So the beautiful thing about this canal is that it goes deep down to even measure, to even scan images that you build, right? It goes that deep, tells you in the images you built what application you may have used, and if that application you used to build your image has expired, it gives you a notice and say, hey, this particular base or this particular service which you use in building your image has expired, and you probably need to update it, or you need to renew. One of those warnings it gives to you. So in that way, it helps you to, strengthen your configuration. And then it talks about prioritizing remediation as the third benefit of integrating Microsoft Defender for Cloud in your Azure, or let me say, integrating Azure DevOps environment into Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Now, the beautiful thing about this is this: there are several levels to the way it organizes the threats. So if you look at during the demo session, you're actually going to see the live view of what I'm actually explaining. But when it scans, let's say, take for instance, it's scanning and let's say maybe an image which you have pushed to your Azure Container Registry, and then it scans the container registry and then the image, and then it categorizes its findings. So here, just like it's talking about prioritizing remediation, the findings it makes in terms of this current security posture you have, it categorizes them into some critical, some high, and some medium, and some low. Meaning it's telling you that, look, for a critical scenario, these things you need to fix, like as of yesterday, you ought to have fixed them, right? And then it groups the ones that are, say, under the high, some under the medium, and some are low. So with all of those preferences, you can then tell which one do you need to act on as soon as possible, right? Or maybe you should hold on before you implement any changes, right? And then the last one here is correlating findings, right? So when you link your DevOps environment to Microsoft Defender for Cloud, it not just gives you the hierarchy of um, the severity of the findings it's done. It doesn't just do that. It goes deep down to refer you to, let me say, what are similar things or similar images that have been configured and how those, let me say, security compliance issues were resolved. It gives you those tips, those findings on what to do to remediate those issues, right? So it correlates the findings itself. Links, you can see here it says link DevOps and cloud security insight. So combined look of both your insights, right? In the view itself, it does a combined view of that insight, linking it with your Azure DevOps, and then giving you, let me say, clues on how you can remediate issues that pop up when you see the threat level, right? So that is basically how the Microsoft Defender for Cloud operates. So now you have a rough idea on what it generally looks like. So let's proceed to the next slide. Yes. Okay. Okay. 1 minute. Yeah. Okay. So we've spoken about, we've spoken about what is Defender for Cloud, the benefits, right? And prerequisites. Yeah. So good. So what are the prerequisites to onboarding your Microsoft Azure DevOps environment into the Defender for Cloud, right? Some of the prerequisites you need to do is one, first of all, of course, you can't be speaking of any of this if you don't have an Azure account. So, one, the first thing you need to do is to what? Get your Azure account, right? Now, um, and in that account, you need to enable Defender for Cloud, right? In that your Azure account, you need to enable Defender for Cloud. Two, you need to have an Azure DevOps organization, right? So where is that organization where you are doing all of the, you are putting all of your repos, your pull requests, all of those things you are building, the codes, where are you storing them? So you can't be talking about onboarding your Azure DevOps environment into Microsoft Defender for Cloud if you don't have a DevOps organization, right? And then the third one is the what? The permissions, right? So for you to be able to onboard your Azure DevOps environment, you need to have the right permissions to be able to do so. And here you can see account and project collection administrator are needed. So that means in the project itself, in your Azure DevOps project environment, you need these permissions to be able to handle or do the onboarding of your Azure DevOps environment into what? Your Microsoft Defender for Cloud. All right, at this point, I think I would call on to my colleague here, Nacho, to take up on the next session. Hello, Nacho, are you there?
Yes. It's been a very educative session so far. So
Awesome,
I'll
awesome,
just
awesome.
take this from here.
Yeah, good. All right.
So can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen.
So so far we've talked about the benefits of Microsoft Defender Cloud, the prerequisites. Now we should actually just go straight to the next one here, which is trying to understand the key features. So really, this will allow us to like help to understand how this really works and what benefit it brings to the table. Of course, we know that so far so good. We've talked about gaining visibility, really, which is covered there as DevOps inventory. So what are we considering here? So with Microsoft Cloud Defender, okay, one of the biggest challenges in DevOps security is really visibility. Okay, so how do we get to know when there's an issue and quickly try to react to that issue? It's all about visibility. If we're able to understand that if we have a centralized view of what's happening in our repositories, in our pipelines, in our deployments, we can actively be able to engage proactively. Okay. So this way, it gives us kind of a visibility of what's going on. We can see the severities we also encountering in our vulnerabilities. We can know what best action to take. Like my colleague mentioned, gives you a whole lot about recommendation, best practices to apply on some of the misconfigs, right? And also, yeah, we have security posture, which is mainly brings this idea of shifting left. What does that mean? Um, Ideally, we want to have a pre-assessment of our codes in development, right? So this methodology means that we are able to really have that insight while we are still building the code, say in development environment, sandbox environment, in lower environments. Okay, so what happens this way? We are able to proactively identify what's happening. Okay, and this goes down to knowing security posture in terms of having this detected in pre-production. Okay, so the keyword is early detection. Okay, so this simply means we are shifting security left. Okay, so to catch issues before they go into production, and of course, reducing the attack surface. Okay, the really application delivery and software management has to put security in place for the business. All right, and if we have been security vulnerability going to production before it's been it is covered. That's a big disadvantage to the business. They can lose their clients as well. So knowing the security posture really on time really plays um, a key feature in production and software delivery. So also we have here the IAC scanning, okay, which is really the infrastructure as a code scanning. And this is because infrastructure deployment really of recent has been more focused on infrastructure as a code tools, things like we have the likes of Terraform, ARM template, cloud formation, bicep, a whole lot of that, a whole lot of that. Name it, Argo CD, Flux CD. And the beauty of all of this is they are templates, okay? And they help us to um, deploy our different resources, manage resources, and at the same time, they can introduce security risks at scale. Okay, imagine you're pushing these codes into your deployment, getting things done, and you are also introducing security risks at scale, right? We don't want that. Yes, we want to really enjoy the benefits. Okay, the benefits it's kind of offers, but we don't want any of the disadvantages. So this kind of help us make sure we are putting that into these various IAC templates. The same idea, shifting left to understand what's happening. So security also integrates infrastructure as a code scanning, basically. So it scans through the various templates, it classify the security threats in different severity, okay, and helps you to also provide recommendations to tackle them. All right, so that's like we put this down here as the IAC scanning. So we also have container scanning here, and we are now taking this scanning again to containerize application. Because security does not stop just at the code level, which it goes all the way to the containerized application, right? So what are we looking at? we look at, say, we have Kubernetes deployment, we want to look at the pod, and we want to scale this security situation to pod standards, right? That could be, for instance, your pod shouldn't run as root, all right? Okay. But if it's running as root, that means someone can really inject some different processes and manipulate your deployment. And we don't want that, right? So same time, we probably don't want all that port security exposures too, right? So we've thought about this before, and it's really something we need to take very serious with. Okay, so and at the same time, we will look at other slide, but it's important that we are not just stopping security at our code level. We're also scanning the container and checking different vulnerabilities, post them before they get to production. That has always been the idea. Stop it before it gets bad, right? So making sure that this containerized application running in different microservice orchestration platforms, say Kubernetes, say maybe function apps, or any other kind of stuff as well, is stopped at the very development environment. Okay, so a different platform should apply across the board. Then since we now know the key features of Microsoft Defender, this will help us to be able to enable continuous security monitoring and proactive risk mitigation. Okay, so security is is an integral part of DevOps workflow. Okay, so we ain't going to play with this. So let's just go to the very next session here, which we will now consider the best practices in implementation. Okay, so to successfully implement security, we are looking at bringing Azure DevOps into play. All right, so it kind of integrates all of this together, all right, and implements, have a more strategic way of applying the best practices for implementation. So we would look at enable plan, right? So we'll try to discuss this extensively, in a way that we are able to maintain strong security posture. It is critical to have a kind of, I will call it a security plan in place, right? How do we want to, apply security checks, the scanning? I'm gonna be having security policies, okay, defined for as a standard for the company, for the business. All right, we're gonna have to define these different security policies, enforce them, okay, and this will have different standard for the industry. It could be, uh, it could be GPR, just different standard out there. Okay, we're gonna take those standards, sort to a lot of standards out there. We're gonna use that as part of what applies to our organization and define a compliance standard. And once we have enabled this plan, we will now integrate this into our code. And the policy is more of like a guide, okay, to how we want to enable the scanning or whatever security practice we want to embed into our system. So I'll just put this down as enable plan. Then the second one we want to look at here is review recommendation. So what happens? We have our policy in place. It helps us to catch these vulnerabilities or misconfigs or whatever it may be, right? Then we need to review the security recommendation provided by the Defender for Cloud. All right. So it's a continuous process. You keep checking, and keep letting us know the present condition of our infrastructure, our application, or whatever it might be. It keeps giving us that analysis, which is security misconfigs, compliance gaps, and any vulnerabilities. All right. So it brings this to view, and we continuously checking and making sure we are able to review this recommendation and take decisive measure to remediate them. So the recommendation will tell you basically, this is what I can identify. All right. And it says, say for instance, you're running root as in your container, right? Root user. It says it's going to tell you this is what you're doing, and probably you need to stop doing this, and tells you how to go about that. So it gives you guidelines, step-by-step way to resolve that. Probably it could also advise you to probably maybe add some storage limitations, depending on what your pod deployment looks like. All right. So it's going to be checking these misconfigurations. You check the configurations, the different templates you have for any misconfigs, whatever compliance gap based on what has been defined in the policy. So we'll just move to integrate tools. What are we looking at? Okay, we're going to looking at how Azure DevOps can integrate with our repository and the Defender. So this enables, an automated security scans that does what? That identifies the risks both in source code and deployment configuration. This, integration is mainly to have a more effective way to ensure that our security profile is carefully, identified at different levels. Checks the repositories, check the source code, check the deployment configuration, and there are a lot of flexibility that comes with Microsoft Defender. So, like my colleague mentioned, it's also can apply that across to different cloud providers. So you can see how definitely you must be able to integrate to different platforms. So we also look at the leverage analysis. So it's more of like security analysis in place, that gives us a leverage insight to prioritize and remediate vulnerabilities. So it gives us these insights. It gives us everything we need to fix these vulnerabilities. So we know that Microsoft Defender will have more of like security alerts. So we focus on the high impact. Basically, we focus on the high impact, and we are able to prioritize and effectively apply a good mitigation step. So we have the risk profile, we have the higher risks, we have the medium, we have the low ones. And with this, security alerts, you can really leverage your analysis and carefully fix the ones that, of course, are most vulnerable to which will be, of course, the very high severity or high impact risks first, then followed by the medium, then the lower in that order. So that gives like a leverage analysis. We also have the Utilize Explorer. Okay, so Microsoft Defender Explorer can help us to get deep dive into security threats, vulnerability, and compliance reports. Okay, so this Explorer, Utility Explorer, kind of give us different, uh deep I said deep dive, that's a word, into the security threads. Okay, you can be able to analyze the threads and fix all of this together to have a more deep compliance report. Okay, so it helps DevOps and security team to be able to collaborate effectively in reducing risks. Risks, attacks, and all of that is a big part of, is a common thread that you need to kind of understand as well to be able to have a deep dive. I'll say it's a deep dive into security to really understand, fix all of this together, fix the threads, check the vulnerabilities, and have a more, compliant report, basically. So by following this kind of, I'll call it, best practices, we can create a secure by design DevOps workflow. Yes, we are maintaining speed and agility in deployment, but we don't want to risk so much of security. So by design, okay, I'll say by design, with all of this Defender for Cloud, we are able to create a secure by design DevOps workflow. The workflow, make sure it tests, and next thing we are doing our scans, we are making sure nothing is being overlooked, not at the expense of speed or agility in deployment, whatever the case may be. Everyone has a clear dashboard that it needs to see what's going on to understand all of these vulnerabilities. So it's really something that helps application delivery. Okay, so the next slide here. So next slide here is steps and resources to work effectively with Microsoft Defender. So now that we have covered, say, the key features and the best practices, let's talk about, a kind of next step to have like a smooth integration. It's really about integration. That's what I'm talking about, Azure DevOps, right? So we want this to be integrated to Azure DevOps and send all our scans and collaborate with integrate with Defender for Cloud, and have a more smooth process, right? So we have the monitor dashboard. All of this will just go through some of them. My colleague Chidebere would have a more practical way. They'll go through like a demo to help us really understand this in depth. But I just want to give like a comprehensive way, or or like the next steps before he kicks in. So basically, we're going to have like a monitor dashboard. So what's this? It just gives us like a GUI, okay, interface, graphic interface that allows us to, continuously track security, DevOps security, right? It gives us that dashboard, that clear, that friendly dashboard, so we can regularly monitor what's going on, stay ahead of different vulnerabilities and compliance issues, really, by simply having a friendly dashboard. Okay, and the next one here is explore CSPM. Okay, so that will be what? That's cloud security posture management. Okay, so this kind of further enhance security. In what sense? It explores cloud's security posture management and capabilities. So we're able to, kind of have like a clear overview of what's going on. Okay, identify misconfiguration using our policy. We have a policy, right? Then we're going to be enforcing compliance across cloud and DevOps environment, which will be, the sandbox, the ability, development, staging, production, kind of, right? But in a way that we are starting from the lower environment, which is, like we mentioned, the shift left, right? We're taking all of this to the left, and with the cloud security posture management and all the capabilities it has, the enablement, it helps us to really go forward the way of identifying misconfig and using our policy and what enforce compliances. Okay, then we have review docs, which kind of gives us like it consults, helps us to like consult Microsoft documentation, really, because the recommendation like we mentioned is really going to be helping us go through some steps, right, that are already there in place. It helps, it refers us, say, go to this documentation, take your time, you read the issue, you understand it, then you could say, from a clear perspective, do I need to fix this? Because in our we want to fix everything, some of the things might not even apply to our, to our deployments or our environments. Okay. And if we have like a clear reason not to, we can decide we are accepting this vulnerability because this might be a first one. right, might not be exactly what we need to do, right? So, when you have documents to review what the issue is exactly, you get to understand the problem before you even try to resolve it. So it gives us more of like, it keeps us informed, okay, about the security enhancement and best practices that this is providing for us, right? So we also have integrate more, and now, yeah, basically, finally, we are trying to expand security coverage by integrating to other platforms. The GitHub, the GitLab. We're not just looking at Azure repos. Basically, we are checking. We're able to check other repos and you know add GitHub, add GitLab to our scanning, helping us to extensively review all our source code and help us better understand the issue and kind of integrate, bring in different platforms, and helps to better establish whatever issue that might be in those um, platforms, right? So it helps us be able to not just check what Microsoft can, manage or have access to or own, also help us to bring in third parties repositories. So yeah, this is the way it's been able to support much more. Then finally, I would just allow my colleague Chidebere to kind of walk us through how to really onboard Defender for Cloud, right? How can we integrate this into our environment, and how, like a practical demo. We've had a lot of discussions about this really. So, Chidebere, I'll let you have the floor and kind of
Yeah.
walk us through, onboard us through the process.
Okay. Thank you, Nacho. Thank you, Promise. So
Awesome.
from here, I'll take it up to the demo session. Let's have a hands-on on what has been explained so far. So far, my colleagues have been able to explain the general overview of Microsoft Defender for Cloud, then the benefits of using that, how you can integrate that theoretically for now, and then uh, I'll be showing you how you implement that on your DevOps environment and how to leverage the security architecture of this to harden your environment. So please stay tuned. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, you can see your screen,
Once
Chidebere.
you can see my screen, okay, good. So there are different stages to implement this. First is creating a Microsoft Defender for Cloud on your Azure portal environment, and then authorizing your DevOps environment, giving it access to the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And then you can set up the YAML configuration, specifying some tools or some uh, code scanning tools, which I will explain in details as we proceed. Then to be able to get some detailed analysis and then display that as a dashboard on Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So the first thing we'll do is on Azure DevOps, on our Azure portal, we search for Defender, and we'll see Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So on Microsoft Defender for Cloud, the first thing we'll do on this interface is to go to environmental settings. So on environment settings, here you have the option to add environment. So just as my colleagues have explained, so you can integrate this to multiple environments where Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, GitHub, Azure DevOps, and the rest. So, but for the purpose of this session, we'll be concentrating on Azure DevOps environment. So, if you select the desired environment, which is Azure DevOps, then you can give it a name. Okay, Demo Defender. And select a subscription, create a resource group if you don't have one existing, and then you select your desired location. So if I go next, the next thing to do is to select your agentless scanning. So this is automatically enabled to on. Then which is the plan, which is still in preview. There are some other features that before you integrate, you have to, like integrating Graph Explorer to it. Then you have to obtain a paid version, but this is currently in preview. So we'll be using this for the purpose of this demo. So you configure the access. So on configuring the access, the first stage is to authorize, to give permission for Azure DevOps environment to pull in the logs, the security analysis to this interface. So if you have not on your own environment, I have authorized this. That's why automatically it's picked up. If not, it will bring up your DevOps interface for you to sign in. And once that is done, then all the queries will be running on the security scanning tools on your DevOps environment will be reporting its logs to this interface. Then the next stage is to connect. So you can select existing configured or future organizations within your DevOps environment. You have organization, and inside organization you have different projects. So you can select existing and future organization, or you can select existing organization. So if you select existing organization, it there means any future organization you are creating within your DevOps environment, it will be excluded from this code analysis, from this security integration. So for the purpose of this, I'm selecting both existing and future organizations, and then review and generate. So if you go ahead, I've also already created this before, but we'll go ahead to do this. For you to create Azure DevOps, yeah, this because I've already created that on this particular Azure DevOps environment. So aside that, you create this, and then the next stage, what you do is to come to Azure DevOps environment, go to your organization settings, and add that as an extension. So this is Microsoft Security for DevOps. But if you don't have it already on your environment, you go to Marketplace and then search for Defender. Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Good. Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and there's it. Then you get it free. So once you click on this, I'm not get it free. It will prompt you to select your DevOps organization. So this is Agromat, which is the DevOps organization that will be working on as it is here. So I'm not integrating it again because I already have it on environment. So let me just give a test to this. So it will check permission to install if you select a different organization or the current organization that you are working on. Once that is done, it will install that on that organization, and then we'll be able to reference that on your code base. So this is already added. So but we are working on this, which I've already added it. So in a situation whereby after adding this, the next stage is to test a pipeline and confirm if the integration is actually working. So we'll come back to our DevOps organization, and then we'll pick a project that we're working on, and then go to your pipelines, select any of the pipelines. However, so far we've integrated it on this route, which is the organization. It will scan everything within the repository. So irrespective of the pipeline that you have integrated into. So for the purpose of this demo, I'll be running it on this pipeline, and then I'll show you how to integrate that. So first you create that on Azure portal, then integrate that to your pipeline extensions, and then on your pipeline YAML file, I'll show you how you can integrate that on the YAML file. So on the YAML file, this is it. So but in a situation whereby this just you are starting it afresh, all you can do to get the code base is you add no, okay, Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Then you add your configs, select the policy, the config, I'll be leaving it as default, and then select your Azure DevOps. If I don't have this here, for instance, if I delete this, then it will give you a different option to choose instead of having it here. So this is basically showing what I already have within this interface. So if you're adding it afresh, then you can do your task. Oh, sorry. So it should be able to pick up from here if I don't have it. So it will be giving errors because this already exists on this environment. But basically, what I want to show you is this how you implement the code base of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Once we have done integrating from creating it on Azure DevOps and adding it as as an agent or as an extension here. So you now specify different tools, different security tools which you want to implement. The security tools, there are some for different programming languages, which are here I specified different ones. Category will specify this what I want it to scan, the secrets, the code, the artifacts, infrastructure as a code, and the containers. You can specify only containers, you can specify only infrastructure as a code, depending on what you want. But for the purpose of this, we're picking all and then we'll select the tools. These tools you can use one, you can use two, you can use all, depending on what you have on your environment. But I added all so that I'll be able to give detailed explanation of what each does. So one, the Bandit as a tool, a security scanning tool is for Python repository. So if you have Python as a source code, then Bandit will scan it. Then if you have something like a .NET, C++, or C programming language script, then you use a bin scheme. Then if you have JavaScript, something like React, Node.js, then you use enlist. Then if you have a ARM template, that's for infrastructure as a code, you use template analyzer. Then if you have Terraform, you can use Terrascan. And then if you have something like containers, Docker containers, or Kubernetes clusters, or the entire cloud environment, then you use Trevi. So you can you can add different other bandit arguments depending on the tool. So this is an example of an argument to select this from the source repository. So you can add different arguments. So in a situation whereby I want to scan for Python repository, then I just want to exclude some folders and scan a specified folder. I can add that as an extension of argument. So, but we will not be needing that here because basically there is no Python script here. I added most of all this just to give a detailed explanation, a robust explanation depending on use case or which one that you want to implement. So with this added to your pipeline YAML file, then if you trigger this pipeline, it will be able to give an analysis and push that to uh, to Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So let me try and run this pipeline. So there are other aspects of this pipeline which is not the purpose of this. This is just to deploy using metric strategy to build and deploy to multiple environment and different build versions. So if I run a build, yeah, just a minute. It's coming up. We'll have a few reference to Python because there's no Python script existing on the environment. However, the pipeline will still pass, but it will give a pointer to a reference. So the two reference like the bandit and the rest. Okay, Microsoft Defender successfully run. Okay, the security for DevOps, good. Okay, so this error message is not actually an error, but a pointer to this enlist which I used that is not existing. There is no Node.js repository on the environment. So it's pointing out that the enlist here, which is one of these two, there is no Node.js or JavaScript existing on this environment. Also on Bandit, there is no Python existing on this environment. So this is it on. So it will give you a detailed log analysis of what is going on. Then on the Azure on the Azure portal interface, you'll be able to pull the logs and have a detailed recommendation on how to resolve any of all this. Let's just give it a few seconds and then it will run. Okay. Okay, good. Here we are. So on the Azure portal, if I refresh this interface, so now I'll come to overview this time and then see access 26 resources. If you click on these 26 resources, you see a detailed analysis and the recommendation of what to do. So it's giving me recommendations and then showing the environment. So Azure DevOps Workshop, which is the DevOps environment we worked on, demo project. These are all the projects that it has scanned. So if we go on any one of these, then we'll be able to see a detailed error message or security recommendation. Okay, good. So this is a high severity showing that Azure DevOps repository should have GitHub Advanced Security for Azure DevOps enabled. So if you have this as a recommendation, you click on it to see a step-by-step guide, just as my colleagues have explained. So the Microsoft Defender for Cloud will give you a security alert and also provide recommendation with step-by-step guide, and in some scenarios a reference to Microsoft official documentation showing you what to do. So if you click on this, it will give you the error message or security alert per se. Azure DevOps repository should have this GitHub Advanced Security for Azure DevOps enabled, and then action to be taken. This is what you have to do. Go to Azure project settings for this, select repo repository, and then so basically what Microsoft Defender for Cloud does is it will analyze your environment, your DevOps environment, and then detect any security vulnerability and then push that as a log to Azure interface on Microsoft Defender for Cloud and generate a recommendation or remediation strategies for you, so that once you see that alert, then you will be able to follow the recommended steps to mitigate that security vulnerability already detected on your environment, which is one of the key benefits of integrating this. Of which, without this, there are some other tools like aside from Terrascan, we have Kubelinter, which is specifically for Kubernetes manifest file. We have SonarQube for static code analysis and the rest. So, but what differentiates this from all those individual security tools is that it gives you a general overview and general security scan, and then gives you a step-by-step guide on how to remediate that or how to remove that from your environment. So you can also trigger a logic app to be able to perform remediation for you, or to send an alert notification to maybe your desired email or Slack notification for the dev team to be able to respond to any alert generated from the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Inventory. So also from this interface, which is Microsoft Defender for Cloud Dashboard, you can integrate that to AWS, GCP. We have it already on Azure DevOps. Then you can integrate it to other Azure resources, maybe infrastructures deployed not using DevOps interface via ClickUps. So you can integrate that and you get the individual analysis, and you can assess each of them and then dig deep into each and every one of it to get the security alerts and then remediation strategies for it. I think on this environment is just one major security vulnerability, which is that on GitHub advanced security enabled. So on Hedge. So that's basically how a Microsoft Defender for cloud works on Azure DevOps environment. And then maybe on our subsequent video or event, we'll be able to give detailed analysis of any of these tools like Bandit, Slate, and different tools that you can use. So we'll have the separate event because these are detailed security tools. So you can integrate this individually without doing that via Azure Defender for Cloud. But the advantage of integrating it via Azure Defender for Cloud is just for you to get a detailed dashboard with recommendation steps instead of having to do it your own, which might violate the security posture of the environment at the same time. So that's it for the demo. And then from here, I'll be dropping off for my colleague. A promise to conclude on this. And then if you have any question on this demo while the screen is still on, then you can ask the question and then I'll do my best to address that while we're here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Liberi, for this wonderful session. So guys, like you heard him, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us and just ask your questions, and we are glad to provide you answers to your questions. Well, one of the beautiful things about this is, of course, we have a LinkedIn page. We also have a meetup page. So, I mean, you could just send us a DM through our LinkedIn page, or you can send us a message on Meetup as well. Any of those means is fine. So, I think at this point, maybe since no one is asking any question, I would say it's time to call it a day. I mean, one of the beautiful things I would say about this session is that we've looked into Microsoft Defender for Cloud and then how you can onboard your Azure DevOps environment into Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And then I and my colleague Ihe and I just spoke to you about the features, what you need to have, your Azure account, or the Azure DevOps organization, the right permissions, and generally the prerequisites you need to have before you actually start, onboarding your Azure DevOps environment. And then my also colleague Chidebere explained to you in detail what you need to do and how you need to go about it in the onboarding process. And funny enough, me just probably looking at what he was talking about was able to even get that easily, and I'm sure you were also able to get that easily as well. So I guess at this point in time, I would like to just wish everyone an amazing weekend ahead. I mean, whenever we teach things like this, I encourage you to go back, try to see if you could do what we did on the training session, right, and get a hands-on about it. Yeah, so I mean that's the beautiful thing about this. So um well, I don't know, Chidebere,
Yes,
do you have any last words before we close for the day?
yes, I think my friend here has a question. Yusuf.
Okay.
Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Proceed.
you.
Okay, good.
Awesome. Proceeding.
Hi. Yeah, hi. This is a very fantastic presentation. So thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through the process. So I just wanted to know if this is really different from the other security tools we have. I know another part of DevOps is security monitoring and log, right? So is this similar to that, or is this a different? Is this on a different terrain?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Is that all for now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you for the question. Yes, there are similarities between this Microsoft Defender for Cloud and other security tools, and there are still differences. Okay, I'll give the similarity and the differences per se. So, one of the similarities is that the Microsoft Defender for Cloud will analyze your code base, analyze your DevOps environment, and then be able to detect any security vulnerability, and then give you the level of severity, low severity, medium or high severity, and then uh, recommend some solutions. Why some other tools, yes, will also I have something like SonarQueue for static analysis. We'll be able to generate this, give you a dashboard interface, get a security scan, give you a dashboard analysis of that, and then some recommendations. Then we have a Kubelinter. Kubelinter also will generate the security scan for your Kubernetes manifest file. So some of them are actually uh, uh, specific, program specific. Some are meant for containers, some are made for infrastructure as a code tool like Terraform, some are meant for the entire cloud infrastructure, right? Then why some? So one similarity among them, they just scan for security vulnerability. But the major difference is this general. The Microsoft Defender for Cloud is general. It gives you the robustness to integrate other tools in it. For instance, while I was sharing my screen, let me quickly share that again. So you see the option of integrating other third-party tools inside it. For instance, within this interface, I have Bandit, which is a security tool for Python. So I have Beamscheme, which is a security tool for .NET, C++, and C programming. I have Enslate, which is a security tool for JavaScript project like Node.js, React, and the rest. Then we have a template analyzer, which is for ARM templates. Then we have TerraScan, which is for Terraform. Then we have Trivy, which is for containers like Docker. We have other container orchestrator like Kubernetes and the rest. So, and the list goes on and on. Unlike other security tools, with this Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you can integrate other third-party tools in it and get a dashboard analysis of each and every one of them within this interface. Which other specific tools like Kubernetes will not give you access to, like integrate other particular tool inside it. So it will be project or let's say language specific. So, but this is robust. It gives you access to bring on board other tools and then incorporate it into it, and then it will still give you recommendation based on those individual tools you have incorporated. I don't know if my team members have additions to that.
I think you actually did justice to that, Chidebere. So Yusuf, do you have any other questions?
No, I think you guys answered the question, so thank you.
Awesome, awesome. All right,
Okay.
just like I said, I mean, any other
Hello.
questions or anything?
Hello.
Hello,
Yes.
yeah,
Hello.
Josiah, yeah,
Yeah.
proceed.
Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed this educative session with you guys. And my question is like from the previous questionnaire. So those third parties that have been integrated to the cloud defender, do they come as do they come at additional costs, or like meaning that is it like, do we have to like get a license to like add them to the pipeline, or it's just free?
Okay. Okay. Is that all? Before
Yes.
I answer, okay. Okay. Thank you. Those third-party tools, you don't need extra payment or maybe subscription or so. Most of those tools are open source. However, if you want to integrate a paid tool into it, it's not based on Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So the payment will be basically on that third-party tool which you are bringing in, which Microsoft Defender for Cloud will still accept it without any extra cost for you and give you the analysis that you require.
Okay,
So
thank you.
the thing is just that, just like my colleague said, there are paid versions, right? And there are free
Yeah.
versions, right? In this particular Microsoft Defender for Cloud, which you are making use of, there's no subscription for it. So far,
Yeah.
you have your subscription in in your Azure DevOps portal. You have access to an Azure DevOps organization, and then you have the right organization in the portal to be able to onboard your Azure DevOps environment. Then you are good to go. Microsoft Defender for Cloud will work for you. So that's just basically how it works. But of course, there are other products that you could integrate if you want to make use of some paid versions. I know there are some like SonarCube and some of those other ones that have to deal with subscriptions, meaning you have to pay to be able to make use of those services. So, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. I think at this point in time we are out of time. I think we've exited over an hour. So I'll be rounding up the session here. Like I said, please don't hesitate to reach us on our LinkedIn page. Yes, we do have a LinkedIn page, and I mean you could search for us Azure DevOps Cloud Community. I'm actually look opening the page so that yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I have it here.
Okay. I think okay. I have it open. So maybe let me quickly share my
Yeah,
screen so that
I'm already sharing it. Can you see my screen?
awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for that, Chidibere. So this is it here. Ensure to follow us on our LinkedIn page, and of course, you could chat us up. We would see your messages, and also do
Also, we
ensure to
have
follow us on our
Meetup.
meetup page as well, right? Because lots of activities we have scheduled for you, right? And of course, a lot of more interesting sessions will be following after this particular one. So at this point in time, I would like to say thank you very much and have an amazing weekend ahead, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys for
Thank
joining.
you, everyone, for joining.
Yeah,
We'll do this again next week. Yeah,
okay.
see you again.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
all. Yeah, bye bye.
All right.